And before we get started, sorry, eating my chocolate, but as you all know, Erin Conway, our Nelson County Times reporter, has moved on, and she's working in Emma, sorry. Yes. Emma Conway, my bad, has moved on, and we have with us her replacement, and that is Mr. Rodney Robinson, correct? So just want to welcome you and thank you, and look forward to you writing good things about all of us. And so,
No.
Some
of us.
But welcome. Yep. Thank you.
And she did a really good job. You probably know her. You probably like her too. Yeah. And she said nice things about who was replacing her. She said she was going to help you. Yeah. And I think she probably will give you some pretty good help. Yes, she does.
All right. Next, moving on to reports. County Administrator's report. Candy?
All right. We'll start again, as always, with our comprehensive plan update. I'll note the project website again is www.nelson2042.com. As you all are aware, the board is anyway, and most of the folks here, public open house on the latest full draft plan was held on August 29th from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Nelson Center in Livingston. The county is still gathering public feedback on this draft to be considered at a joint meeting of the board and the planning commission on September 28th at 6:30 p.m. That meeting will be held here in the old board of supervisors room in the courthouse. Comments may be left by completing a form on the nelson2042.com homepage or on the idea wall, or by contacting county staff and supervisors. As you all are aware, there was some sentiment that the board may want to conduct more open houses. So if you would like to discuss that at all, now might be a good time. If not, we will move on.
I felt bad that I was not more supportive of them. I thought the crowd in some ways was a bit antagonistic, and I wish I had been more supportive of them. I hate to say I'm embarrassed, because if you don't do something, you can make excuses, but I felt that way. For what it's worth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel that the consultants in the county have done an exemplary job of getting the public involved in the process and to have opportunities for comment. And I don't see that any additional meetings or anything like that would do anything to make it better, because they still have opportunities to comment now and going forward. And we'll have a series of public hearings where they can do the same. And I feel that they've got direct lines to just about all of us in terms of what comments they'd like to make.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the upside to having additional open houses, especially at the expense that is incurred. And I feel the public has ample opportunity to reach out to us individually, directly, and at future public hearings. So I say we move forward with the schedule we have.
Strongly agree.
Yep. Any other comments on that? Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. On to the next item, having to do with our Virginia Outdoors Foundation grant related to Stark Park. As you heard, Mr. West met with resident citizens in the vicinity of the Stark property. And these folks expressed some concerns, as you heard earlier, regarding public utilization of the property. Some main themes of their concerns were seclusion of the property and park security, timely EMS response to the property, hunting around the property, increased traffic, property management, the cost benefits Norwood, Wingina citizens, and the county of developing this property into a public nature preserve / park. These concerns, I think, should be taken into consideration and addressed to the extent possible in the ongoing planning process. And so I do apologize if the board was not aware that the meeting was taking place. I think it was just meant to be an initial informational meeting, and there will be multiple meetings, I do believe,
Well, and
ongoing.
yeah, thank you for saying that, because sitting here today with the accusations that were made by Mr. Stevens, I felt a little bad about, but
Well, they were
we had,
directed to me.
well, he was directing them to all of us, especially you first and the rest of us. But we had no idea that there was a meeting taking place, and I don't think the intent
I'm
was
glad
for
you brought
us.
that up, because being old, I'd forgotten that I had forgotten it. I didn't know what I had forgotten. However, I thought the recommendation was about having committee of two residents. I mean, I'm a neighbor. I mean, it's right,
Right.
I mean, I'm right there. Of setting up a committee, it was a good idea.
Mhm.
So if you could give the steps toward that,
Yeah, we can certainly do that. And I think going forward with any projects that the board endeavors, including the public that are most directly affected by the projects and decisions being made, with those projects is a good thing. So I think we should aim to do that going forward. And I did want to address something Mr. Stevens said about the eminent domain issue. That's an extreme measure that I don't believe this county has ever undertaken. So I would like to allay those fears probably right now that would be an extreme circumstance.
Yeah.
If that were invoked, so.
that area is nobody's talking about having a huge recreation area. It's kind of a unique place in terms of what flora and fauna is there,
Right.
so.
Right, and as Ms. Walker pointed out, the property was deeded to the county for specific purposes, and, so anything we do has to maintain, the intent of that gift. So. Okay, so we have not heard back yet if we, have received any of the grant funding or any comments on our application at this point. Moving on to the ongoing Piney River Solar special exception that is in Amherst County's court, but is adjacent to our Piney River Rail Trail. On August 17th, they did hold a public hearing on the special exception request for a revised utility scale solar energy system by Piney River Solar. As I mentioned, it's adjacent to the Piney River Trail. It was referred back to their planning commission for consideration in September. I don't know dates on that, but if you'd like me to find out, I certainly can.
I understand there was a public meeting for the neighborhood of a possible solar farm in the Gladstone area. It was held at the Heritage Center in the library last week. Which I went to, except I went to the Nelson Center. And then I tried to find out about it, but ended up not attending it myself. Do you know anything about that?
I do not. I was not aware of those meetings whatsoever. I think
I got
Margaret
a letter,
tried to.
a letter in the mail
Okay.
telling me about
We
it.
haven't gotten
Do you
notification.
know anything about that, Reverend Rose? I think it was last Tuesday. And I went to Nelson Center. I didn't realize, but I don't know.
Right, we were
if
trying to
it
figure out what meeting you were looking for, and none of us had any idea about it.
helped. Right, okay.
Yeah, so find out more about that. Okay, David Blunt reported a little bit on the status of the state budget. So the General Assembly did pass a budget agreement on September 6th with some local impacts still to be determined. Of particular note is the state's intent to provide a 2% salary increase for K through 12 education, SOQ recognized positions beginning January 1st, 2024. Additionally, some state-supported local employees will receive an increase of 2% in their base salary effective December 1st, 2023, and certain constitutional officers will see an unspecified increase in compensation. So we would like to see the specific budget language on these just in order to evaluate the county's obligation in providing for these increases. As he mentioned, of local interest is an allocation of $200,000 for the Nelson Heritage Center. I've also inquired as to the inclusion or not of the state's provision of 25% funding for the Regional Jail Authority's renovation project, and this is currently unknown. I did reach out to the jail superintendent, and I haven't heard back, so I'm not sure if that was included in the budget or not. Hopefully you all recall that we applied for opioid abatement authority grants in cooperative partnership with Albemarle, Louisa, Green, Fluvanna, and the city of Charlottesville, along with the Region 10 Community Services Board. These grants were approved. The grant is for $834,974 for the CTAC expansion, in addition of 23-hour crisis response, and then the $448,500 for the Blue Ridge Center community response and addition of the community drop-in there. There's no local match for these grants, and Albemarle County will be responsible for grant acceptance and management for the performance period, which goes from July 1st, 23 to June 30th, 2024. They are the acting fiscal agent for the grant. As far as the Route 151 corridor study update, VDOT and their consultant are still working on updating the study, which will include the dissemination of a public survey and an in-person meeting to be scheduled from mid to late October. Then they'll have recommendations and cost estimates to be finalized by the end of November, and a subsequent VDOT presentation to the Board of Supervisors. The schedule flows well with that of the comprehensive plan, allowing for its consideration and inclusion in the final draft to be presented for public hearings in winter of 2023. I think you all were notified either by email or in a previous report that FEMA has issued the preliminary copies of the flood insurance rate maps and flood insurance study. These were circulated to the board and other community stakeholders for review and comment. This period provides an opportunity for reviewers to identify changes or corrections to non-technical information contained therein, such as road names, stream names, etc. A link to the digital copies is available through the FEMA Map Service Center at the website shown here. This was also added to the county's website for the public's easy access. Adoption of these maps is a multi-year process that includes public engagement, public notification, a 90-day appeal period, issuance by FEMA of a letter of determination, and then a 6-month period to adopt or amend our floodplain ordinance to reference the date and title of the new flood insurance rate maps and flood insurance study report. More detailed information on the process will be provided in the coming months. I don't yet have an update on the DSS building on the Callow Hill site. I'm awaiting a response from the architect as far as where they are on their proposal for going into the design phase of the project. I would like to note that we found out today our Parks and Recreation Department received an award at their VRPS conference this week. It was for Best New Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative for the Tunnel Accessibility Day. So congratulations to them on that award. We are also working with our IT department on our audio-visual solution for a better YouTube viewing experience of our meetings. So that is in progress, and we'll be reporting back on that in the near future. That's all I have, unless you all have any questions.
I have a question on the DSS building in the Callow Hill site.
Okay.
Davenport is currently under contract to provide those services.
No, that company is PMA Architecture,
PMA is doing that,
correct?
but they're under contract already for us to do
Yes,
that?
yes, they are.
Could you request an update from them? We haven't heard anything from them for,
Yes, absolutely,
while.
yes.
it would be good to get an update in terms of what, so we can estimate a timeline. We're going into a new budget season really soon.
Right.
And it would be really good for us to
Yes.
know ahead of time.
The last time I spoke to them, they were gonna be working on the proposal for proceeding to the design phase, and so they would come back to you all to present that and get approval to move forward at that point.
But if they're not ready to do that next month, if we could just get a note from them. in terms
Yes,
of where they are.
absolutely. I'll let you all know as soon as I have an update from them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Next, we have board reports. Mr. Barton, have anything to share?
Well, Kenny addressed the thing about the Charlottesville jail. They're still waiting on, the funding, so not much was happening there. And there were close together, there were 2 deaths at the jail, and they seemed that we were offered explanations that made sense.
Mr. Harvey, anything to share?
No, sir.
I've got a couple of reports. Following up on TJPDC report, David Blunt was here earlier and we talked a little bit about that. Just wanted to, get my microphone on, I'm sorry. The TJPDC's draft strategic plan is out, and it looked really good in terms of where it's going, but I just wanted to let the rest of the board know, some members of the public have had some questions about involvement by TJPDC and the value of what they provide the county, which is significant, and what they're planning to be doing in the future. There's not any significant changes, but I just wanted to mention that one of the real excellent services that they provide is it's an opportunity for supervisors and planners throughout the area to give an update every month about what's going on in their counties. And it was very interesting to see that other counties are seeing a lot of some of the things that I personally have seen about members of the public presenting. Candy mentioned extreme circumstances that might come up, where people are showing up at meetings and presenting extreme circumstances as something that they're assuming to already be in place or going forward. And so they're having the same problems we've had in terms of being able to provide good information to the public, to let them know what actually is going on, and that a lot of their fears are really unfounded, but they still find a way to come up. Just wanted to mention that that's not something that's limited to my district in any way, but going on in other places as well, and they're addressing them. One of the other things that we've talked about is short-term rentals and homestays in that forum. And I attended a Zoom call with a joint meeting with Charlottesville City Council and their Planning Commission, because they've finished their comprehensive plan and they've already moved on to the proposals for zoning changes. And one of the zoning changes that was proposed, that was put out for public comment, had to do with homestays and limiting and restricting homestays. And the proposal which they had put forth actually took the equivalent of what we have as R1 and banning homestays in any R1 areas. That turned out to be such a volatile issue that they've kicked down the road, and they're going to be looking at zoning changes that don't include that, But it was just interesting to see that, yes, we're all dealing with the same problems. Yes, there doesn't seem to be any quick and easy solution to them, and how they're clearly going to be site-specific based on the locality where they are. And so that was an interesting thing. One other thing is that John is undertaking a rural needs assessment, and I was put on the committee to do that. However, they scheduled their first meeting this afternoon at 1:30, which of course made it impossible for me to be there. I let them know early on that that was not something I was going to be able to attend, and that it was that I wanted to make sure it didn't put us in any liability situation in terms of what's going to be going on, the fact that I couldn't be there for that meeting. So they assured me it won't happen again, and they're going to be checking in with me about stuff. So not just me, of course, staff as well. So our participation in that assessment leading up to the next budget session, I'm sure is going to be better than that. The only other report I've got is that I did attend the candidates forum last night. It was interesting to say the least, and without getting into any details, it was a little disconcerting to see some political dirty laundry being hung out at an event like that. And I was kind of a little disconcerted by that, but going forward, I'm hoping that that doesn't become the case. And if there are issues that have to be handled internally, that can happen, and not having to turn it over to the community to cast judgments on.
Would you be specific?
I'll be more specific, not on the record. I think it's something that perhaps internally we have opportunities to deal with, but not one I want to raise right now.
Anything else? As far as board report?
That's it for the report.
Okay. Moving on to the EMS council that I attended on the 15th. A couple of notes I want to share from that. Very exciting project that's coming up. I don't know if you know what a Knox box is, but it's basically a box that is kind of like real estate agents put on a house, where it's got a lock, and there's a key inside of the box, and has a either combination or something, so you can get into the house and real estate agents can show it. Well, a Knox box is a souped up version of that fire departments can have access to in case there is, let's say there's an alarm going off at Powder River Elementary School, and they don't have to wait for the janitor or the principal or the school secretary to come from home and turn the alarm off and let the fire department in. So these boxes would be mounted. And that was the beginning of where this started, was the school system and Blue Ridge Medical wanted to have these available. So it's something that's coming. It involves about a $1,900 investment per truck at the fire department to have these boxes installed and have the system put in for them to do it. And then for the business or the school, I think it's about $1,000 for them to get it set up on their end. But so they're moving forward with that. They're going to ask for budget approval. They would like to set these up on 1 unit per fire department. So it would be a total of 6. Wintergreen is already set up to do that, but that is something that will be coming to us. So about $2,000 times 6 units. So $12,000 request is pending. I just want to give you a heads up that that's something, but it's very exciting. And they're looking to expand that not only to the schools in the Blue Ridge, but to give local businesses the opportunity, because once the infrastructure is set up on the truck, there's no extra expense to additional businesses having this box on their building. So they could spend $1,000, get it set up on their building, and then provide the fire department access if they needed it. But also residents will be able to do it. And that residential setup is only $200 to $300. So you can imagine some of the property owners that maybe have a long driveway and they have a gate at the end of the road, being able to put something and have fire department be able to gain access easier, or if it's a vacation home, that type of thing. So very exciting opportunity for the residents and business owners of the county to piggyback on something that the fire department is looking to implement already. There was a conversation, can we talk about the, that ambulance, the 50-50 thing that we were talking about, remember? So the question came up about a grant that was Rockfish was applying for to purchase an ambulance. They did not qualify for the grant. It was a 50-50, and they didn't get the grant. But they're asking if the county would still fulfill the county side of the agreement if they came up with the other half outside of the grant. Do you have any information to share?
I do not, I haven't received anything.
Nothing from-
Request on that.
They haven't reached out? Okay,
No,
well,
not yet.
that's something that, again, should be forthcoming. And then last but not least, I was asked about currently we have a personal property tax relief for volunteers in the county, first responders. They get up to $5,000 for one vehicle credit for personal property tax relief, correct? Is that
Yes, they get up to 5,000 in
vehicle value? Yes. So if they've got a $5,000 value truck, they don't have to pay any personal property taxes. If they have a $10,000 truck, they only pay half. That rate was set in 1993. So the question asked of me was, would we be interested in revisiting that rate? And I don't think it's something we need to do right now. Maybe we could consider it for next budget cycle. But it is something that I would like for us to look at because it's been quite some time since we set that $5,000 value. And, I was thinking maybe we could look at changing it to $20,000 or $25,000 value for the vehicle, for one vehicle per first responder.
Do you know, is that something that they advertise when they're trying to recruit new members that is a benefit?
I can't, I don't know. I know that the existing members are aware of it and they appreciate it. Whether it's used as a recruiting tool, I would imagine at this point it might not be at $5,000, but I can't answer that. But again, I don't think it's something we need to change right now. I think it's something maybe we could just put a pin in it and consider for next budget cycle. Any other board reports? If not, we'll move on to appointments. It doesn't look like we have. Don't have any appointments, and we'll talk about the other committee. I don't have any answers on that yet, but I've had conversations. So no appointments. Correspondence. Any correspondence? All right, if not, we will move on to directives. Any board member have any directives? Mr. Barton?
Ernie, you want to?
We'll get to Ernie. He's on this end. You have any, Mr. Barton?
I defer to Ernie because he's.
Mr. Harvey?
I
No.
allow him to.
Mr. Reed, apparently you have a directive.
Yes, new business. Reverend Rose made a request for additional funding to fund meals appropriate to the increase in the number of active members they have at the Gladstone Senior Center. And I believe it was 2 months ago that we had a request from Rockfish Seniors for a similar request for a smaller number of people. Candy?
We
You had something
have
to
some
say?
information on that. So the Rockfish Seniors requested $12,300, which would be $3,075 per quarter. Mr. Rose's request, currently the Gladstone Senior Center meals, they get $9,000 per year or $2,250 per quarter. So the request of $5,000 per quarter would be an additional $11,000. That would be a total of $20,000 for the year. And I believe there might be 60 seniors at Rockfish. We were gonna double check that number. And they get $12,300.
I would like to make the request for $5,000 a quarter, which would be $20,000 for the year for food for the seniors at the Gladstone Seniors.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Why don't we do this jointly? I mean, if one needs it, I know all of them will need it.
I agree. It's something that we should probably take a look at in the budget cycle, because that's the appropriate place, to do that. But this would at least take us up to the next budget cycle. And then at the budget cycle, we could revisit it.
And I'll be honest, I didn't keep up with the math in my head. Are we being fair with the two? I just want to make sure we're not giving one more than the other, and,
Yes.
as far as like a per person type, I know we're not going to be exact, but just
I
want
don't
to make sure
know
we're
about per
close.
person, but annually, you'd be giving Gladstone $20,000 and Rockfish is getting $12,300. And Rockfish may have more seniors than Gladstone. 60 versus 40.
When did Rockfish make, a couple months ago, wasn't it?
Yes, it was within the last month or two. They didn't get their request in time for the budget cycle. They had some turnover in their personnel, and so they made their request late after the budget was approved.
But that's the only two we do in the county?
I have to go back and look. What I have here is the agency funding sheet. I don't have the full budget sheet in front of me at the moment to answer that question, but there are no other community centers on this list that I'm looking at.
But they are. I mean, there's not a community in the county that wouldn't need the same thing.
Well, do we know that other community centers are doing meals for seniors like that? That's,
Right.
that's what I don't,
The
Well,
Livingston
maybe
one
they
does
do.
it, but it's.
I know, maybe they don't.
Well, maybe they do need to do it.
well, that's a whole nother subject.
In this case, I don't think it's necessary for us to have to make things even. I think Gladstone, I've been down there, and that's a very vibrant organization. And Gladstone, we reached the disappointment of the depot and everything. Could use a little cheering up. I mean, I think it's fine, 5,000 a quarter.
Gladstone, just because of its location, tends to, I think they have seniors from adjoining localities
They
that
do.
come to the Gladstone
That is
Senior
true.
Center. Not that that should influence your decision at all, it's just a point of information for consideration as well.
Yeah, but they are members of the Gladstone community.
Yeah, because Gladstone's,
Yeah.
they are. Just, how isolated that is.
Right.
I'm still in favor of it, and I'm also in favor of revisiting what their needs are come next budget season, and looking at it in a more totality kind of thing.
We certainly can do that.
Any other comments? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
What is the vote for?
To increase to 5,000 per quarter for the Gladstone Senior Group for their funding.
But you're not doing it for everybody, or?
Just the Gladstone seniors is what the motion was.
Just as a point, the Rockfish was just done, and no one else has expressed interest in doing it or asking for additional funds. So we can't comment or vote on anything for anyone else, but Rockfish just asked for it 2 months ago, was
Maybe
approved.
last month.
last month was just done last month for Rockfish.
I just don't like doing it individually when it's a whole.
And as Mr. Reed said, we can revisit the whole project at budget time and reevaluate. You vote? No?
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes. All right, moving on.
Carl, can I say something? Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank the board for your.
Come on up and if you want to say.
I'd like to thank the board for the support that you give us so that the class don't think that, they have a point need to come to the board of supervisors meeting and to, if they have any concerns, to bring it before you. And I thank them for that. And as I said, our membership is really increasing. We have a good time over there, good bunch of people. And we enjoy everything over there. Again, thank the board for your support.
Absolutely. Thank you for the work you do there. All right. Do we have anything else for this afternoon session? If not, I will entertain a motion that we reconvene at 7 p.m. for the evening session.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? See you at 7.